Hey, do you ever see businesses just like yours in the news and you wish you could think of something newsworthy to say about your own business? Or maybe you've considered publicizing awards that you've won, but then you got lost in all the paperwork. It's frustrating when you want to be more visible, but you just simply don't know where to start. Well, if you're ready to get the recognition and exposure you deserve, then stick around because today's guests are going to show you how to get attention for your business without spending a dime on advertising, and how to generate new leads that bring in new business. And I think best of all, how to feel good about being more visible in general. Hi there, and welcome to today's Business Masters interview. Today's interview is sponsored by Michelle and Christian Ewing's free 5-day Pitch to the Press challenge. So we're going to be discussing with them how they help introverted entrepreneurs to generate new leads by crafting newsworthy stories to pitch to the press and other important topics about getting press coverage. Check out Michelle and Christian's free 5-day challenge at Press Pitch Challenge Right on Time. You can Google that. I've tried it. It works. It'll get you right where you need to go. Again, Press Pitch Challenge Right on Time to get to Michelle and Christian's free 5-day challenge. The title of today's interview is How to Get Started Getting Press Coverage, the beginner's guide to generating new leads by crafting newsworthy stories to pitch to the press. My name's Martin Meisenheimer, and today I'm talking with press coverage experts, Michelle and Christian Ewan of Right on Time Limited, about how every introverted entrepreneur can get started on the right track with getting press coverage and obtaining the very best results. Welcome, Michelle and Christian, to the show.
Good morning. Thank you, Martin, for having us. We're delighted to be here with you.
Thank you for such a lovely introduction, Martin. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's so much my pleasure to have you here. I know that the audience is going to get a ton of value from what you have to share with them. Many of you may know already that Michelle and Christian are well-known experts on the subject of getting press coverage. And they've graciously consented to this interview to share with us the beginner's guide in this area so that every introverted entrepreneur can understand how to get started in this area of generating new leads by crafting newsworthy stories to pitch to the press. So Michelle and Christian, thank you again for joining us on this live interview. Let's jump right in.
Pleasure. Thank you. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So my first set of questions is about your background and experience in the field of getting press coverage so that the introverted entrepreneur in the audience can understand who you are, where you're coming from, and how you can relate to where they are right now. So we'll do that, and then we'll jump into the beginner steps to the success that every introverted entrepreneur needs to understand about how to get going in the right direction.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, good. So if you would, let's begin. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of your background, education, and experience in getting press coverage?
Sure. Absolutely. Do you want me to go?
You go ahead, ladies first, yeah.
What a gentleman, always the gentleman.
So, as Martin said, we are Michelle and Christian Ewan, and we are former news reporters. So that's what kind of puts us in the unique position of being able to advise people how reporters think and feel, because that's our life experience to date. So we are both educated to degree level in journalism, and we both got our first jobs pretty much around about the time we turned 20. We were working in fully functioning newsrooms, making key decisions about which stories appeared in the magazines and newspapers that we worked on. So we had a lot of pictures coming into our inboxes. We had a lot of press releases of varying quality that we had to sift through on a daily basis and work out which stories were going to make it into print. So that's why when we help people to understand what a good story looks like, we're coming from a place of real practical knowledge and know-how, having been in that seat to making those key decisions.
Nice. So it sounds like it's really been. Sorry, we're getting a little feedback. Not sure why.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Maybe that'll work a little better. So it sounds like it's really a combination of formal training plus on-the-job experience that brought you to where you are today, right?
That's
Absolutely,
correct.
yes.
Yeah, we're just passionate about telling stories. It's something that growing up, respectively, myself and Michelle, we've always been interested in writing from a very, very early age. That was something that we discovered that we had in common when we first met and when we first became colleagues at our local newspaper. That's where we met. And that was incredibly 18 years ago now. I can't believe where that time's actually gone. But we first met in 2002. And we became colleagues and we're working on the papers together, as Michelle explained. But yeah, we both had that in common during our school years, etc. We both loved creative writing and comprehension, studying the language. And from there, I think we both decided, didn't we, that we wanted to get into writing as a professional career when we grew up. And we both feel very fortunate and very blessed that we were able to pursue our respective dreams and achieve that. And also, it was just wonderful to meet Michelle. So
thank you.
Yeah, love of my life. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, full disclosure to the audience, I've actually participated in Michelle and Christian's 5-day challenge in the past and just had an amazing experience. That's why I insisted to them they have to be on my show. And one thing that I heard Michelle say already was how in their professional life they learned a lot by being sort of inundated with all kinds of people pitching of various quality to try to get into the press. And it sounds like I'm going to guess that oftentimes the quality isn't all that fantastic. So it makes me wonder how, and this reminds me of the 5-day press. My experience with Michelle and Christian is they have this remarkable ability to give feedback in a way that is very clear and it's direct and honest. So they don't blow smoke. They tell you exactly what they think of it, but they have a way of doing it that's you still feel good about yourself. They have a way of giving you very direct instructions how you can improve it and make you feel good about your efforts so far. And I think that must come from that experience of having so many people, probably most of the time unsolicited, pitching their thing to you. Is that right?
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely spot on, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
we got to summarize it. Yeah,
a really lovely piece of feedback from somebody who took part in our last challenge, who said we are tough nuts with kind hearts.
We love that,
which we really love, because we're not here to destroy anybody's self-confidence or make them fearful of pitching to the press. It's the complete opposite, to be honest. And we're very much come from the standpoint that if you are going to learn, if you are going to improve, you have to have constructive feedback that helps you to see how things can be improved, because this is a new skill set for lots and lots of business owners. This might be the very first time you've even contemplated putting a story across to a newspaper reporter. So we don't want to crush confidence by being super harsh, but equally we don't want to tell you you're doing a great job if there are learning points that absolutely can be picked up on and improved.
Yeah, I think it's very much about striking that balance. And I think that another aspect of our background, of our training, as it were, that I think has prepared us for doing what we do now, offering the 5-day challenges, is that in our industry, in our profession, you meet people from literally all walks of life. So myself and Michelle have had many years of interviewing experience. So we've spoken to many different types of people from different backgrounds and different sectors and different levels. We've interviewed celebrities, for instance, and people of all different backgrounds. So I think what's been important for us is that when we embarked upon the challenge, I think that we take a lot of pride in our ability to connect with people quickly, and to do it in a way where we feel that our communication is certainly valid and appropriate, but also, as Michelle mentioned, designed to be elevating and encouraging rather than in any way making people feel that they're not getting it or that they're feeling overwhelmed. That was something that we definitely wanted to steer clear of that. But I feel that our background of basically talking to people for a living has prepared us to do that, because, we're taking strangers, people that we don't know prior to the challenge, and then getting them all to communicate with each other and for us to communicate with them. for them to communicate with us as well. So it needs to be a very clear and open dialogue, but there is no reason why that can't be done in a way where people feel lifted and respected, most importantly. Absolutely. So I feel that our background, again, has certainly facilitated us in our ability to do that effectively.
I would say that's absolutely the truth, having experienced your feedback and coaching myself. And so a little bit more about your background before we move forward into the actual steps involved.
Sure.
So it sounds like you weren't necessarily an overnight success. Did you have to work at this? I know both of you from a very early age as children had an attraction to reading and writing and that sort of thing, but nonetheless, tell us a little bit more about maybe some of the early steps. Did you have any stumbling blocks or hurdles early on in the career that you really had to work through in order to hone your skills?
That's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because obviously, while we had a natural gift for writing, I mean, that is our thing. I wish I could sing. I can't, and I'm no actress, and I'm certainly no sportswoman. But writing is something that I have always felt very comfortable with, and a discipline where I did excel in school and college and university. But even so, I had to learn the mindset of a reporter. I couldn't go off and just do my own thing and just be this creative writer and work to my own framework. I had to fit in the hole for the peg. I had to serve up what the newspaper readers wanted and required, and I had to look sideways and I had to look up and learn from my peers and be open to taking constructive feedback myself. And that's how over time I honed my storytelling technique. I got more comfortable with implementing all that great learning I had at university. But as we all know, there's one thing getting kind of like educational learning, but when you go into a workplace, implementing it in real life situations is different again. So while I did have some techniques and know-how from my years at university, my true learning was done on the job in the newsroom, because you never know what is going to come across that desk at you. Anything can drop into your inbox at any moment, and you have to make some very quick thinking decisions there and then to choose which stories are a right fit for you and your readership, and also on that day, because you are also kind of managing the influx of so many different stories and the newspaper values and what's going on in the big picture, nationally and regionally, and also some sensitivities as well, because you have to be aware of how stories sit alongside each other in a newspaper. So it's no good promoting Spinal Health Awareness Week in the same week that the local spinal health unit has closed down. So it's learning those nuanced judgments that you have to make as a reporter. And I think with 30 years combined experience between the two of us, that's what we can bring to business owners, that kind of critical thinking and that practical application that really is going to elevate your ability to tell stories well to reporters.
Wonderful. Very well put. Well, it's obvious already just from listening to both of you that we've got the right experts in-house for us when it comes to getting press coverage. So let's get started with that beginner's guide. What would you say would be the first step, the very first thing a beginner introverted entrepreneur? So notice I'm emphasizing this is for the introverts in the audience. What would be that first thing they need to do in terms of moving in the direction of getting press coverage and how to get in newspapers without spending money?
Okay, so am I okay?
Go ahead.
Are you
yeah,
sure?
absolutely.
I feel like I'm stealing the hot seat.
Not at all. You're doing fantastically. And I have to say as well earlier that everything that Michelle did mention there about the stumbling blocks that you can encounter at the beginning of your career, everything there completely related to me and my own experience too.
Especially with us working next to each other, literally sharing a desk for many years.
Yeah.
So
first
step we would say is about mindset.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now, a lot of people assume that getting into the press is something that's only something an extrovert would do. Someone who is very, very comfortable with being on a pedestal and being in the limelight and loving it and bathing in all that attention and all that stuff, that as an introvert just feels like the complete opposite of what you want. That it's almost like an oxymoron to think, why would I as an introvert put myself in the spotlight when that is something that I personally, you know, would find really uncomfortable. So to that, I would say it actually makes sense from the perspective that rather than chipping away at social media every day, rather than feeling that that pressure to perform and come up with Facebook lives and posts every day and things like that, which can push you into a place of feeling uncomfortable. Instead, you can direct all your attention towards getting in the press, which is a one-time hit to reach literally thousands of potential customers through the power of that leadership. Now, you can do this in privacy, in your own time and at your own pace at home. You don't have to work as part of a team and deal with some of the emotional conflict that can throw up for you. And the process that we teach is exactly that. It is a process.
Very much so, yeah.
Definitely. There is video tutorials, there are worksheets, very much do X, Y, and Z, and this will happen. So all that creative thinking that can sometimes feel challenging, or the pressure to come up with ideas on the spot, all of that is dissipated by this very carefully mapped out process that works for any industry, any sector, no matter how long you've been in business for. It helps you walk through that process in a comfortable way. So we would say the first step is definitely around mindset and shifting from that position of it being something that would just be too uncomfortable to something that actually is a really smart decision to get you maximum visibility with the least amount of effort on your terms, done at home, without having some of those conversations and social situations that can actually feel quite uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I from my own experience, I can say the mindset is really so critical, and especially for introverts to kind of get past that initial, you know, anxiety and start moving in that direction of being okay with being a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
And I like the way you put it earlier. You were talking about this not being just a one-time thing, but starting to help people to think about this as part of an ongoing marketing strategy, that this isn't just a one-time, one-off occurrence. Almost like, I feel like a lot of what you two do is the same approach that a trainer would use in the gym if you were trying to get physically fit and you hired someone to be your trainer. You wouldn't go to the gym one time, get a workout and be like, I'm glad I got that taken care of. Now I'm all
now I have the body of my dreams. I never have to work out again.
I never have to sweat another bead in my life. It's a brilliant way of putting it, Martin. It really is similar to that.
Fantastic analogy.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. You know, we do encourage people that once you embark upon the journey, so I know we're going to, we'll talk subsequent steps, but once you've got the mindset thing nailed down, once you've got that self-belief to know that there is a way that you can do it as an introvert where you do feel comfortable and you feel confident and supported, and that you've got the know-how to begin to put out there what you want to share about your offering, then you need to keep doing it, build the momentum, and like a muscle, the more you exercise it, the bigger it becomes, the stronger it becomes. You then begin to get the muscle memory, if we're going to continue up down that analogy path, because I think it's superb in that it'll get to a point where you're doing it subconsciously, because you've built up the resistance, you've built up the strength to believe in what you're doing, and after a while, it may not seem like that now, but believe me, it will become second nature. The more you do it, the more you practice it, just like anything. If you go into the gym, when you're doing a particular exercise, the more you do it, the easier it gets, and after a while, your body just sort of enters into that rhythm, doesn't it, where it's kind of doing it without you having to really think about what you're doing. It's just kind of there like that. And it's no different to learning a new discipline such as pitching to the press or anything for that matter. Very similar thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's another form of muscle memory, if you
exactly
regularly.
If you keep doing it, that's the trick to it. Once you've done it, And yeah, you can have that big few sigh of relief. Oh, I've done it now. I don't need to do it again. We would openly encourage people, you know, please don't think like that. I can understand that there might be resistance to it, and you might feel that few moment, okay, I've done it now. I can tick it off the check sheet and never worry about it. But we would tell you that if you've enjoyed doing it and you get something from it, why wouldn't you want to carry on? You know, you can keep doing it at your own leisure, but please don't, you know, just put it back on the shelf and leave it. Don't lose that momentum, because you've worked so hard to get to the point where you're rolling the ball and you're getting that moving. So why would you want to put your foot on the ball and stop it? The idea is just to keep kicking it forward, keep it kicking it further down the path, would be what I would say. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does. And the other thing that from my experience with you is, as an introvert, what was really helpful in getting over that initial anxiety is you really have things laid out, almost like a check sheet, don't you?
Absolutely. And we've done that very, very deliberately, because the two main points of barriers to accessing the coverage in the press for people are A, confidence or mindset, and B, it's the technique.
Correct.
Now, what we have done is, as I've explained, we've 30 years combined experience between the two of us, and we sat down together literally in our back garden with our cat in the sunshine, and we broke down actually what are the steps that we intuitively follow when we are pitching a story, and how can we simplify them, how can we make them very, very easy to follow, very concise, very clear, giving people that clarity and confidence around the process. Now, we had over 300 people in the first wave of the challenge, and we've had subsequent coverage published that people achieved simply by following that very prescriptive process. And I go back to this being very, very helpful for introverts, because I know as an introvert, lots of people are very good at research. They like to be methodical. They like to take time to think about things, and to have a very defined set of steps to follow. That takes away all that anxiety, feeling like you have to perform on the spot.
Yeah, like spontaneity may be involved or something like that.
Or, you know, excessive amounts of teamwork. You can literally sit at home, do this in your own way. There is a group, obviously, so if you do want to be part of that group environment, get involved in things like our Ask Us Anything Lives, we 100% welcome that. But equally, if you do want to just sit in the background, do the work, and do things in your own time, that's absolutely fine. We've had people who've contacted us who never said a word in the group, but just did the work, and then the press coverage has happened. And that's okay. It's whatever works for you, and that's really the position that we've come from when designing this challenge.
We want people to feel comfortable. So, as Michelle said, they can be as open and communicative as possible, and or they can simply do the work each day, follow the task, complete it at their own time and pace, and then if they have a question, they can ask us, or if not, and they just want to keep ticking along, that's absolutely fine. The idea is we want it to be an inclusive space. We want it to feel secure and safe for people of all different personalities, all different backgrounds, etc., to feel that they're just getting some really, really strong value from it, and to achieve that shift in mindset where this can go from being something that maybe people think that they can't do or they could never do, to them feeling, I want it, I want more of it, I want to, you know, I want to.
It's a magical moment when we see that tipping point in people, when they start off the week thinking, I'm a bit skeptical, scared, and a bit like, I'm not sure this is for me. And then round about day 3, there's this flip, and the various parts of the puzzle click into place, and they start to realise, this isn't something that only a PR specialist can do. I don't need to hire a PR consultant. I can do this for me. I can make this happen myself. And when we do see that moment, that light bulb moment, it's so lovely to see that. It's one of the most rewarding aspects of the challenge.
I couldn't agree more. That is such an infectious moment for myself and Michelle, and for us to have had the privilege of experiencing that a number of times with our previous challenge. It is a really, really emotional thing, that just to be able to see that confidence. I suppose it's, again, I mean, it might be the equivalent of a person learning to ride a bike, and then when a bicycle, and then when the stabilizers come off, and then the bicycle,
like, keep going.
It's like keep going, keep going, keep going. You know, don't put the brakes on now. You've got the wheels going. It's very similar to that. It's that feeling when you know that you've gone from having the stabilizers, you know, having the safety nets, for want of a better expression, to taking those off, and then you're riding it and you're going it alone, and it is a great feeling. It's something that myself and Michelle have become very addicted to in our own respect, and we want to keep repeating that and sharing it with other people. So yeah, day 3, without any spoilers of the challenge, is a big day, as I'm sure Martin will remember. That is definitely where, for a lot of people, the penny drops or things start to fall into place a little bit, and it kind of goes from being more of a fantasy to feeling a lot more like reality.
Yeah, who would have thought pitching to the press would be so exhilarating, right?
Yeah,
those of us who are on the outside.
I'm getting goosebumps. No, thinking about it. It is exhilarating, because the other thing that we should explain is that for anybody who wishes to participate, is it's not a dress rehearsal or a drill or anything. You know,
no, this is real stuff.
Come Friday, come day 5, you will be pressing send to a real life reporter that you've chosen, that we've supported you to choose, with our full guidance and support. So yeah, it might feel a little bit scary, but believe me, when you get to that moment and you're all ready to go, and you've had the 5 days learning behind you, then you're feeling really positive.
Definitely.
Yeah,
and that was one of the things that made me want to jump into this, was knowing that, hey, in 5 days, these folks, you made a big promise.
We did.
Up front about this 5-day challenge, and I took you for your word when you said that you were going to take me from 0 to 5 days later actually hitting the send button on a pitch to a reporter. And lo and behold, they did it. They walked me through that step, and I pitched to the press. And so getting back to the steps, we said that, and I really love how your approach is, you do get people into action right away, right from the get-go. You put them into action with achievable little steps that are moving them in the right direction without doing the work for them. So the coaching is there, but it's always up to you to do or to do the work or not to do the work. But those little action steps every day are very achievable, and they build up over time, and that's why it's really brilliantly laid out, so that in only 5 days you're actually sending something off to a reporter. So with that in mind, it's really well laid out. With that in mind, we talked about the first step being, working on mindset. Once we've started to address that, then what would you say is the second step?
So the second step is always the story, okay? So, because the story is literally what the reporter will make the decision on. And it's not up to them to determine what your story is. They haven't got the time to do that. They need a story idea delivered to them fully formed, so it becomes an easy yes.
It's got to be persuasive and clear.
Persuasive and clear. So immediately people will have that anxiety of, I haven't got a story, I don't know what my story is. So on day 2 of the challenge, we spend the time really getting to grips with the idea that everybody has a story.
And believe me, you have all got a story.
Everybody does. Like, I'm 41 now, and I'm yet to meet a person who hasn't actually got a newsworthy story. It's just believing that, and it's also knowing how to shape that story idea. So what we have done is basically created a resource, 20 story ideas that work in any sector, in any industry, no matter how long you've been in business. These are tried and trusted story ideas that newspaper reporters know, like, and trust. They understand the concept of the story. It's something that's very familiar to them. Very similar to, if you think of movie genres.
Yeah, this is an analogy we use a lot. Yeah.
So if you think of a horror film, somebody's going to go in the basement, you're going to be screaming, don't go down there. This certain
creepy house on the hill.
Creepy house on the hill. There's kind of tropes and narratives.
And you expect them in a horror movie.
And that is a good thing, because it helps us to make choices about what types of films we want to watch. Now, very similarly, there are many story narratives that have been kind of delivered for lots and lots of different businesses over the years. Points of those are the same. The health might feel different depending on the business, but at the core of it, the key touch points are always the same. So we are giving you in this challenge 20 story ideas to choose from. So you're not coming to it from a blank slate. We're not asking you to have this creative impulse on the second day and come up with a story for the very first time. We're giving you a framework to help you to choose what that story could be. So I would say that is the first step. And the key thing about all of those story ideas is that they're very rooted in human beings.
Definitely, okay? Because you are human, you're unique, you will have your own background, your own story to tell. So that was something that was really important to Michelle and I when we collated the 20 ideas, that it always came back to a human-centered focus. So Definitely. You can elaborate upon that,
Because reporters, above all else, they like to write about people. People like to read about people.
They do.
So if you come to this with a very commercial perspective, if you're thinking, I just want to sell my course, or I just want to get bums on seats for training, or I want to sell X number of cars or some other product or commodity, you are actually going to come to the reporter very much with an advertorial sensibility.
And it won't be the right idea for the challenge either.
It's going to feel very commercial, and very, very quickly the reporter is going to say, that sounds great, but you need to spend some money with our advertising department. And that's exactly what we're trying to avoid people having to do. Hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to buy in paper newspaper advertising. So we're trying to bypass all that expense, all that, especially, if budgets are an issue, or you don't want to spend your hard-earned cash on a very, very expensive advertising. What we're saying is the complete opposite. Serve a reporter a story that's genuinely newsworthy, and you will get into that paper completely free of charge. So this important second step is all about thinking about stories, but we are not going to kind of put pressure on you. It's all very much handheld. There is a system and a process in place to make that as simple as possible and as stress-free as possible.
All that we ask, Martin, as from your own experience of the challenge, is that when people come into our world, into our arena, that you follow the process that we've mapped out. It's coming from a place of love and nurture. It's also coming, though, from a place of practical experience and extensive knowledge of the system. So if you're prepared to do the work, which is something that we do say to people, please do put your faith in us. There is a process, and it's there for a reason. It's been very, very carefully thought out. It's been done with you in mind, but it's also been done with us in mind, because we want people to go away from their time with us and feel like a light bulb has been switched on. So provided that you do follow the templates and you don't try to jiggery-pokery around with what we're trying to do, then you're going to get more benefit from that. And another thing as well, which is really important, is if you do get to that stage, because what we teach you is to put you in the best possible position to convert your story into an actually printed piece of news. There is no better feeling than when you get that validation from a publication, because you're there on your own merit. As Michelle said, you've got a wonderful financial benefit because you haven't paid hundreds of dollars to actually take an advert out. But never forget the fact that if you make the newspaper or the website that you've pitched to, or the magazine or the journal or whatever publication that you're targeting, if you get in there, you're there purely through your own merit, because the reporter has read your work, read what you're about, and thought, yeah, that's a person that I want to write about. That is a service that I want to, that the readership that I have would like to learn more about. And that, believe me, when you've had that experience and you've had that feeling, that is definitely something that you will want to have again.
Yeah, it's a heady dose of credibility.
A heady dose of credibility. I like that. Yeah, I'm going to remember that. A heady dose. I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Very quote worthy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we work on our mindset, then we come up with the story idea, and then what's next?
Yeah.
What's next after that?
There's some work then, and some accountability as well.
Yeah. So basically, once you've got your head in the right space, you've come up with your story concept, The remainder of the challenge is all about how to put the story across in the least number but most powerful and impactful amount of words.
Yeah.
And again, we don't just leave you to go away and ponder this question.
Yeah, don't worry, everyone.
There is literally a template, word for word, of how to do this. It's something that you learn on day one in journalism school. So it's not, it's not just being plucked from thin air. This is real news telling technique that we are sharing with you in a way that treats you as that news teller. So this is a very simple formula for condensing the story down into a beautiful cup of soup that a reporter could sip on and make a choice. Is this story right for me?
Does it taste good?
Does it taste good? Is it right for my publication?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It is about boiling down all of those key components into a beautiful soup or broth or whatever your hot your hot food of choice may be over there. We love soup here in the north of England.
A hearty broth of England
with a nice cob of crusty bread goes down a treat. But no,
we like food analogies.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, no, it does work. It is definitely about, you've got your ingredients, you're putting it into the pot, you're mixing it around, and you're bringing it to the boil. But the most important thing is that we've tried to do it in a way where we boiled it all down to the bare essence of what people need to know. The challenge would not work if people came into it and you needed to have a degree, for instance, in English literature, or have some kind of copywriting experience or anything like that. We needed to create it in a way where everybody who came into it felt that they could do it, that they're supported. Another reason being, for instance, why we wanted to create video tutorials to go alongside the written work, because we appreciate that some people prefer to learn in a more audio-visual way. So rather than being overwhelmed by lots and lots of text, and yes, there is plenty of words in there, you can also learn it in your own leisure by listening to myself and Michelle chattering away, probably using some more food analogies to explain why we do what we do and how we do it, etc. So we've tried to the very, very best of our ability to make it as welcoming and supportive and inclusive a learning space as possible.
Yeah. So just to summarize then, so firstly, it's about mindset.
Number one.
Getting your head into the right space to accept that you are worthy of news coverage.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be as scary as that sounds.
Even for introverts as well, it does work. Yeah.
Number two, it's about getting the right story idea, which we will help you to do that. There is structure in place to get those ideas honed down and ready for consumption. And then number three, we will give you the technique of how to put those story ideas across in a form of words that's going to work super well for a reporter.
Yeah, and all we ask at that stage, at step three, is that, please follow the process, listen to what we're teaching you, and if you put that into action, then you've got the best possible chance of pitching with success to the press.
I love it. Very well summarized, Michelle. And I love the food analogies. That works well for me. Yeah,
it's lunchtime over here in the UK, so I think that's that's influencing my choice of analogies.
Subconscious at play there. Yeah.
Here in New England, we have clam chowder in the wintertime.
Oh, delicious!
Oh, nice.
Yes, we've had the pleasure of sampling some clam chowder, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
And it's
nice.
a delicious meal, that is.
So we will teach you how to cook up a beautiful bowl of clam chowder.
Yeah.
Slash a story.
That's what we're going to do for you. You're going to have your own clam chowder.
That would be a good story. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
And so thinking about it as a recipe, what I think is particularly valuable, it's especially useful for an introvert, because oftentimes I think that the introvert can very quickly get into overwhelm when they're approaching something new they haven't done before, especially if it has more than one step. And then they just get stuck, they start procrastinating, and nothing happens. But having that structure, a formula or a recipe, and knowing what that is from the get-go really helps in terms of getting the introvert off the starting block into action, and then keeping that momentum going with a little bit, the next action, next step, and kind of checking off the boxes as you go. So with that in mind, then, let's say, okay, it's day 5, we've submitted, and then we're waiting. What happens next?
Yeah.
So in the best case scenario, and this,
Yeah. So should we do both?
yeah,
for
best and
objectivity?
worst case scenario.
Best and worst case scenario.
So
Yeah.
best case scenario is that your story hits the newspapers, reporters' email inbox. They click it open, they read it, they love it, and they say, "This is the story for us. Let's get it in print." And that genuinely does happen. In the last challenge, we had a lady who submitted her pitch in the afternoon, and within an hour, she had an invite to appear on BBC Radio London to be interviewed on this story that she pitched to the press.
So it can happen that way.
It can happen that way. More often than not, it might take a little bit longer. We are sending the pitches out on a Friday afternoon, so it might be that they are looked at the beginning of the next week. So it might take a few days. In some cases, it might take a week or even a fortnight if you are pitching to a publication that comes out on a fortnightly or monthly basis that isn't published as frequently as a daily newspaper.
Or a weekly.
So that's kind of the best case scenario, that you will do the work and everything will appear in print and you will feel amazing. All your friends and family and customers are going to celebrate you. You're going to cut out this gorgeous piece of coverage and have it in a scrapbook or a frame, and it's there to look at on difficult days in your business, and just really affirm that you have got what it takes. You are going places. You are making the right choice to be showing up in the way you want to in the world and doing what you do. Worst case scenario is you hear tumbleweeds and crickets and it's just stone cold silence. And this is the point where most people give up. They are like, I did it and nothing happened, so that clearly isn't for me.
You know, say it's a waste of time, or why did I bother?
Why did I bother? I'm not destined to be in the newspaper.
Wrong.
And it's just, honestly, it's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong because there are a myriad reasons why your story might not be picked up the first time round. As I alluded to before, reporters are making a decision based on the wider context of the newspaper as a whole. All the stories that they're telling, they have to consider clashes, making sure you've not got 2 stories on the same theme appearing that week. So it can be a very robust editorial decision not to use your story purely for things that are completely out of your control. You can have lined up the best story of the decade,
the greatest photograph,
greatest photos, and then out of the blue, something could happen at a national level that changes the whole news agenda, and the talking point of the day shifts in a different direction. And that's why you should never personalize a no.
This is really important, everybody.
So important.
Yeah, that you do take
You are not being rejected as a person.
Nope.
You're not being rejected as a business owner. It's not that you are not good enough or not worthy. It's just on that day, in that moment in time, it wasn't your turn. Now, the only way to push through that is to keep going back to the reporter with different ideas, and sooner or later something will click. We had a lady who did our challenge last time round, and she only got her story published this weekend just gone.
Yeah, so it was over 5 weeks.
It was over 5 weeks. She could very, very easily have given up at any one moment, but she persevered, and she actually ended up getting the biggest amount of press coverage out of anyone in the group.
Wow. Over 300 participants.
Because her
last double page spread.
Literally a double page spread in the newspaper with her story.
So in terms of column inches, if you equate that to what you would spend on adverts for a double page spread, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars here.
And if she had given up at any one time prior to this weekend just gone, that never would have happened for her. Never. And it's only the same as you might do 5 Facebook Lives before someone inquires about your product, or you might send an email marketing campaign out for a month with no takers, and then on the last day you get 3 orders. And the press is very, very similar to that. So the most important thing is to be persistent. Don't personalize it. and just be very, very assured in yourself that you have got everything it takes to get into the press, and it can happen for you.
You need to be patient, everybody. And not only that, it's very, very important that with our challenge, we make it very clear there is not a guarantee that when you press send on the Friday, you're going to get in instantly. We don't put a time limit on that. We can't do that. We're not the editors of, we're not Rupert Murdoch owning the entire, the world's global
English guy,
Australian,
yeah.
who runs pretty much
Yeah.
the media. So we make it very clear, people, we're not telling people that when you come into the challenge, you will get published. What we're doing is we are teaching you techniques which work, which we know work. We work in PR. It's what we do for a living. We're teaching you the techniques that are going to put you in the best possible position to be published, because you're taking away questions that a reporter may have. However, if it doesn't happen straight away, then the worst thing that you can do is to think, as Michelle said earlier, right, forget it. I'm not interested anymore. They don't like me. I don't like them now because they didn't listen to me. It doesn't work like that. You need to go into this with a very open mind, and you need to be thinking to yourself that just as much as you want the reporter to feature you and talk about what you do, you also have to be giving them something. So if you're giving them something that is newsworthy and credible and factual and accurate and relevant and current, they're all things which are going to strengthen your position. However, for the reasons that Michelle just said, which I won't repeat, because there may be some kind of conflict or clash with another piece of news that's breaking in that area or on that day or in the country, it's about being persistent and persevering. And if need be, it might be going back to your 20 ideas which we've given you that you'll have in your back pocket, looking at them again and seeing if a different idea works for you. It might be that an idea a week or two ago may not have been appropriate or relevant when you began the challenge, but maybe a little further down the line as your business continues to evolve, it might be that you've got a different thing coming up whereby that idea all of a sudden goes from being down here on the pile to being right up at the top, and then you can repitch again, because you'll have all the technique there and you'll have how to approach the reporter all ready to go. It's just a case of showing up time and time again, and just don't lose faith with it. And please, most importantly, as Michelle said, never personalize it. A reporter, they're not petty in that respect. They're not people that would do that. They're just there to do their job and to choose the right thing at the right time. So that's really, really important. But we talk about that during our live sessions in the challenge anyway.
We do.
And we also want people to know that when they come into our challenge, we love being asked questions. So if you are an introvert that loves to ask questions and you like things to be clear and precise and things to be clarified, Michelle and I love doing that for people. The more questions, the better. We're happy to give our time freely to people to make them feel supported and happy with what they're doing.
And you can also ask the questions before we go live.
Yep. We do have that function.
Hashtag ask us anything. Yep. So if you're thinking, I don't want to put my hand up in a live situation on Facebook, that's fine.
Yep.
You can ask us the question beforehand and we will just answer it on camera for you, and you don't have to feel pressured that you're taking part in a real-time conversation.
Yeah. So the function with that, very quickly, Martin, I'll just add that. So during the 5-day challenge, we go live every day. Once a day at 3 p.m.
UK time,
3 p.m. UK time. So you can ask the question prior, as Michelle said, before we go live, and we will deal with it. And while we're on the live, we do not come off the live. As I know Martin will remember, we can go for an hour and a half, a couple of hours if need be. If people are asking us questions in real time, your question will be answered. We're not going to ignore it. We'll answer it on the spot.
Yes, we will.
We'll give you our full honest opinion on whatever the question is. So that's one way of doing it. Secondly, if for any, obviously time differences play a part in things and people's schedules, if you wish to catch us on replay, then you can do that. If you just put hashtag replay into the video live, and any question that you've got there, we always make a promise to get back to you within 24 hours. So even if you're watching it after we've gone live, you still have an opportunity to have your question put to us and we will handle it for you. 100%. So nobody's getting left out.
Yes.
Well, I can certainly vouch for that from my experience of, when I was on the live calls, they took every single call, very generous with their time, and Christian's right. They didn't just say, oh, we're going to get on live for an hour and then we're out of here. They kept going as long as we had more questions, and it was great. It was everyone got their questions answered, and it was so valuable to have that feedback right away, the same day that you're taking that action step. It was really helpful.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Martin.
Yeah, and so when is the next 5-day challenge? When does it start?
Oh, it's coming
Okay.
up so soon.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. So
That might have sounded really loud. Sorry, Martin.
Sorry, Martin.
Sorry about that. Poor Martin.
Not worth being deafened for.
No, sorry about that. We just get excited. Yeah.
So it's
Yes,
on.
you should.
It's on Monday, the 28th of September.
That's correct.
So that means that by Friday, the 2nd of October,
yeah,
you will have sent your first pitch to the press. So you're going to start on day 1 with nothing but a blank sheet of paper, and by day 5 you will literally have clicked send, and your story idea will be weaving its way through the ether and going into your reporter's inbox.
Your reporter of choice, yeah, which we will help you to identify. Yes. So do not worry about any of that. We will help you every step of the way. So yes. Monday, 28th of September, we would love to have you come on board and let us show you how to pitch to the press.
But excitingly, although the challenge begins on the Monday, we actually open the doors to our private Facebook group the Friday beforehand. So that weekend is like a super chilled social weekend, and there will be opportunities for you to introduce yourself and say what you do,
what you'd like to get out of the challenge,
what you'd like to get out of the challenge, and any questions that you have, you can post it that weekend. But again, on your own terms.
Yeah, don't feel pressured by the way.
No pressure to do that. It's just an optional thing that if you want to do that, then you can.
Yeah, because don't forget, you're going to be spending 5 days, of learning with other people. So it might be that you just want to say a quick hello to everybody. This is what I do. This is where I'm based in the world, that type of thing. And it's just, again, to create a little bit of harmony with everybody. Everybody's coming into the challenge with their own goal, with their own shared objective, which is to break this cycle that they may be having about getting into the press. So it's nice to encourage people as and where possible. So that's just a thing that we offer, as Michelle said, on the Friday. Yeah. But then the real work does begin.
On the Monday morning.
On the Monday, and each task will take no longer than a half hour to complete.
It's very manageable on a day-to-day basis. It really is. And one of the things that I would comment about that I really enjoyed about this structure of the 5-day challenge is it was very supportive, not just from Michelle and Christian, but other members of the, I'll call it a tribe, in the 5-day challenge. Yeah. We all started cheerleading each other and supporting, and it was just a very nurturing, supportive environment to be in. And so especially for the introverted entrepreneurs out there, it's just a very warm, caring group of people that I think tend to be attracted to these folks, Michelle and Christian. So that's another really wonderful part of the challenge that they put together.
And that's such lovely feedback, Martin. And we do, there are structures in place
there are guidelines and rules as well.
Guidelines and rules
in the group
to make it, if anybody is expressing anything offensive or rude or unkind, they will be immediately ejected from that group because it is a safe space.
Absolutely.
Yes, they'll be shown the door because
so everybody needs to read those rules.
Yeah, because we don't ever want anybody to feel uncomfortable in that setting. So I just want to stress that you're not going to be going into this like hardball, buy my thing, or anybody giving you aggressive sales pitches.
It's not a networking event thing either.
It's not networking in the in the traditional sense of giving elevator pitches and all that jazz. It's genuinely just nice people who care about their business, wanting to get the word out about what they do, so that other people can benefit from their products and services in a non-spammy, a non-sleazy, a non-salesy way. That's all we're asking. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing.
A genuinely newsworthy way. And if we do catch people, obviously, who do break the rules, they're all clearly in there. So I'm not going to go through them now. But when you do come into the challenge, it's a free resource. So all we're asking for people to do is just to be polite and respectful of the rules. We will be keeping an eye out. We have a team that will be in the background monitoring activity. So as long as people are coming into it, as I mentioned right at the start of the broadcast here with Martin today, if you're coming into it with an open mind and good intentions, then you're going to get so much out of it. And who knows what it can lead to for you.
Absolutely.
And the people that you're going to meet as a result.
Yeah. Well, Michelle and Christian, you have shared with us some really amazing wisdom and some gold nuggets about how to get started pitching to the press. For those of you in the audience, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now.
I'm impressed
Google.
with this, Martin.
Yeah.
This is excellent.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Amazing. So just Google Pitch Press Challenge Right on Time. Right on Time is the name of their company and the 5-day Pitch to the Press Challenge. If you Google any variation of those words, you're going to find this. No problem. So any last words before we say so long for now? Either Michelle or
all I would say is just believe in your ability to do this and believe in your worth, that people will be interested in who you are and what you do. And everything else, process-wise, let us take care of that and just welcome you into our safe space just for a very, very short period of time to help you make a significant leap forward in how you market your business for success.
Awesome. Well done. Well said. So again, I want to thank Michelle and Christian Ewan of Right on Time Limited for sharing with us. Thank you. And thank you to all the introverted entrepreneurs in the audience for joining us for this amazing beginner's guide presentation about getting press coverage and to help you just get off to the right start. Again, I'm Martin Meisenheimer. Thanks for joining us on the Business Masters interview. And one last time, I'd like you to check out Michelle and Christian's free 5-day challenge. You will love it. It's incredibly packed with value, and it's going to help you to succeed with getting press coverage and help you to get off the starting blocks to getting in the newspaper without spending a single dime on advertising. Until next time, I'm Martin Meisenheimer. Have a great day. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Martin.
much, everybody.
Thank you,
Martin.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Christian. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.